That way you don't have that.
Go ahead.
Welcome, everyone. Hi, I'm Andrea Sato with the Programs Department of the Wilton Library. And I want to welcome you to this program today and say how pleased we are to continue our partnership with SpedNet, the Wilton Youth Council, and Wilton Schools on important sessions like this. Wilton Library continues to bring unique, diverse, and informative programs to our community. I'm a mother of a special needs daughter myself, so I know how critical this type of information can be. With that, I'll turn it over to Janine Kelly.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you so much. And good morning, everyone. Welcome to our SpedNet webinar, Purposeful Play and Why It's Important for Learning with BCBA Meghan Cave. This webinar is presented by SpedNet Wilton in partnership with the Wilton Library, Wilton Youth Council's Free Play Matters Task Force, and Wilton Public Schools. And we are grateful for their partnership. Today, Meghan will discuss the importance of play in a child's development and how child's play leads to social success. For our littles with disabilities, play often does not come naturally. Meghan will provide tips for parents that we can help our children develop play skills that are purposeful. Meghan is a board-certified behavior analyst with over 14 years experience. She has provided special education and behavior analytic services in both home and public school settings throughout Fairfield County, and co-authored articles in Autism Parenting Magazine, Behavioral Science in the 21st Century. This is a blog. She is a 5-time recipient of awards honoring excellence in leadership in working with children with disabilities. She is also the co-founder of the Hangout Spot, where she works with students of all ages to develop critical life skills. For more information about Meghan, please visit our website at www.spednetwilton.org. Our SpedNet board is here today, including Eve Kessler, Executive Director and co-founder of SpedNet Wilton, co-president Carolina Corrigan, and I am Janine Kelly. We also have our friend Andrea Sato here from the Wilton Library, who you met earlier. Thank you, Andrea, for joining. Just a few housekeeping matters. Please check out our new and improved website at www.spednetwilton.org. We are constantly looking for new and improved ways to keep you informed about special education matters in ways that are user-friendly. Also available on our website is our guide to special education, bringing knowledge to the table, how to be an effective advocate for your child. This user-friendly guide helps break down the complex special education process in a way that's easy to understand, so please check it out. And finally, just a few ground rules. We'll take questions at the end of the presentation, and please type your questions into the Q&A, not the chat. It's much easier to keep track of the questions that way. Also, please be mindful that this is an open forum. We can't guarantee confidentiality, and it's also being recorded. So if you don't want personal information out there in the public forum, please keep that in mind when you ask your questions. Also, lastly, any information provided in this presentation by Meghan Cave or the SpedNet Wilton Board is not intended to be legal or therapeutic advice. The information and discussion are for general information purposes only. And with that being said, I'll turn everyone over to Meghan. Welcome, Meghan.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm super excited to spend the next hour or so with everybody and hopefully pass along some helpful information as relates to playing with your child. So I'm actually going to go ahead and hopefully share my screen here with everybody. So fingers crossed that you all now see the presentation, and certainly I'm happy to share these slides. So if anybody would like a copy in the future, we can certainly provide that. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So I wanted to begin with this quote, which I'm sure so many have heard in the past, but our good old friend, Fred Rogers, play is often talked about as if it were a relief from serious learning. But for children, play is serious learning. And I wanted to start with this theme here because I think sometimes when we're thinking about child development, we think about things like, are they learning to read? Are they learning to do their math facts? Can they count to 10, right? We think about the academics, and certainly that stuff is incredibly important. But for kids, play is by the means by which they start to learn and understand their world in ways that a textbook can't teach. So I think that we're all here today because we all understand that play is one of the most valuable experiences that a child can possibly have. but sometimes it can be challenging. If you have a child who does have some identified special needs and doesn't know how to play naturally, they may require a little extra support to explore the world of play. And sometimes our kids who don't have identified diagnoses, they still struggle with this too. So my goal for today is to walk you through some quick and easy strategies that you can use when playing with your child at home to make sure that they are getting as much as they possibly can be out of that experience, and to make it fun for both you and your kiddo. So with that, we are going to jump right in here to the benefits for parents. So you guys, play is super fun for kids. I will say I'm a little biased. You're talking to a professional who spends all day, every day, literally playing. That is my job. So certainly I personally have the privilege of experiencing some of the benefits of play myself. But I think it's important for us to talk about not only why is this important for your child, but why is it important for you? So play allows parents the really unique opportunity to see the world from their child's point of view. It's been a long time since we were kids, right? Seems like a lifetime ago. And so sometimes we forget what it looks like or feels like to experience the world from the point of view of a 5-year-old. And like it or not, our world right now is a little screwed up, right? It looks totally different than it did when, first of all, before COVID, let's start there. But gosh, I think about, I'm 30 years old here, right? And technology looked a lot different when I was 5 than it did than it does right now for children who are 5, right? The types of toys kids play with look a lot different now than they did when I was a child. And I've even been reflecting on things like Disney Channel. Disney Channel looks a lot different now than it did 30 years ago. So even if you can think back to some of those memories of what play looked like for you as a child, the world is different. It's different now. And so experiencing things from a child's perspective is a really unique opportunity that we can gain through the experience of play. Certainly relationship building. So I would imagine that if you think back to those moments of play in your childhood, you can remember that one super fun game that mom or dad played with you, or that one special memory that you had. And my guess is it has nothing to do with reading, writing, or math, probably has something to do with a play-based scheme, right? So play is a means by which we can develop really enduring supportive relationships with our children. And we can also learn to communicate with them better. Provides us a really unique opportunity to practice some of those skills. All right, now there are even more benefits of play for our kids. So play has been shown to correlate with healthy brain development. It allows our children the opportunity to create a world through pretend play that they can literally control. And there is a lot of anxiety out there in today's world and a lot of fears. But in a world that's based in play, our kids can control those things and work through those things. Kids also learn to develop group skills, things like sharing, conflict resolution, self-advocacy. Those are the things you can't learn by reading a book, right? You can't learn how to share toys by listening to your teacher tell you how to share toys. You have to actually experience it. And those are critical life skills, hugely important, that can be attained through the process of play. Through play, our children develop interests and passions. And we know how important interests and passions are for our college-bound students, right? So those kids who are kind of around that 17, 18, maybe even a little bit younger age frame, and they're thinking about what makes them tick and what life's going to look like in their future. Guess what? That doesn't start at 16 or 17. It actually starts at 2 or maybe even earlier as children begin to develop their passions and interests through play. And lastly, I don't know about you guys, but go ahead and raise your hand if you have spent some time, way too much time in front of a TV or a computer or a phone lately, right? We've all been there, done that, and we forget to move our bodies. And kids are living in a technology-ridden world. So play actually affords us the opportunity to build strong bodies and healthy habits. And that is just a few of the benefits. So actually, when I was doing research for this presentation, I had to prioritize because there were probably 100 different benefits of play that the research has identified for both children and parents. So I've only brought you a few here to reflect upon today, but there are many, many more. So you guys, you've got access to a question and answer feature in your webinar features here. But for those of you who know me well, I hate presentations where I talk at you and you feel like I am sharing things with you that, yeah, they're kind of relevant, but not that really. So I really enjoy the experience of making these workshops interactive and engaging and making sure that I'm addressing your needs. So I want to give everybody a quick moment to go ahead into your question and answer feature and type in there some barriers that you've encountered when playing with your child. The ladies here are going to help me read not all of them, but maybe a few of them out loud so that we can just get a sense of what people are struggling with. I will tell you that from my own practice, I hear things from parents all the time, right? My kid doesn't want to come away from the TV. So it's really hard to find time to play with them because it's a fight to get them off of that technology. I've heard things like, it's really hard to get my child to focus on the activity. They're sort of like a wiggle worm who's all over the room and I can't seem to get them to sit down and actually engage in the activity with me. Things like, my child's having a hard time communicating with me and I can't figure out what they're interested in. So those are some of the ones that I have heard. So I'm not sure if anybody has any others. Oh, we have a good one here. He wants to play by himself and doesn't allow for me to join in. This is the webinar for you. So we are going to talk about that for sure. Some games are boring and kids can't sit for a long period of time. Yes. So those are definitely things we've heard. And you guys, I think it's important to recognize that you're not alone, right? There are other people in your community who are having the same questions you are having and struggling with the same things you're struggling with. So the good news is we're going to talk through some evidence-based strategies today that's going to help you support your child in this regard. So thank you guys for those of you who shared. I appreciate the opportunity to make this real life and talk about the things that you're struggling with. Okay. Perfect. So we're going to start by developing a family-friendly framework for playing together with a specific focus on the initial idea of promoting communication. Okay, so we're going to hone in on this idea of communication. So things like, how do I talk to my child during play? How do I understand what my child wants during play? Those types of concepts are those that we're going to talk about first. And I want to teach you guys a really exciting strategy that's all about following your child's lead. Okay. So when we are playing with our kids, I've already heard some themes about my child feels bored. My child can't sit that long. Those are all real concerns that can be really effectively navigated by using a child-driven approach. So we're going to talk about following your child's leads. The very first thing you need to do, if your goal is to follow your child's lead during play, is determine their current interests. For those of you who have little ones, you know that interests are fleeting, right? They might be interested in one thing at 8 o'clock, and by 8:03, they're interested in something totally different. But the most important thing is that we need to have minute-by-minute understanding of what your child is interested in. Now, don't go with what your child was interested in the past. Okay, so if last Tuesday with Uncle Sam, Johnny was really into trains, don't just go for the trains because that's what he was into last Tuesday. Go with what he's interested in the moment. So if Johnny right now isn't playing with the trains, but he is totally playing with a little stuffed animal on the floor, don't try to take him away from that stuffed animal and get him back to the trains. He's got a current interest. Right? He's totally interested in that stuffed animal right now. So we should go with his lead, go with what he's motivated by in that moment. Sometimes you guys, that might not be a toy, right? So it very well might be that last Tuesday, Johnny was super interested in trains, but right now Johnny is having a total blast spinning as fast as he can in the middle of your living room. His interest right now in this moment is not the trains, it is spinning. So the play scheme you should be following your child's lead into is that of spinning. So I've tried to make this real life for you guys here. So in the blue boxes throughout this presentation, you're going to see some examples. And I would ask that you use your Q&A feature to go ahead and give me some thoughts on these questions. So I've got here my toy bus. So for those of you who brought a toy bus here today, great job. Take out your toy bus. If you don't have a toy bus, totally fine. No big deal. But I want you to go ahead and pick up your toy bus or whatever other toys you have lying around and think about this question. So your child is playing with this toy bus, this one right here, okay? And he or she, or actually, let me back up. You, as a parent, really want to teach your child to identify colors. And typically you do that by using flashcards. But how else could we practice? How could we follow our child's lead in this moment to do something that's going to be more effective via play? So if you have any ideas on that front, go ahead and shout them out to me in the chat. And I will start to give you some of my own thoughts. One idea I have for you is, what color is this bus? There's a little hint for you all. And we had somebody who beat me to it. So yes, what are the colors on this bus? Hey guys, what color is the bus? Oh yeah, the bus is yellow. Let's make the yellow bus drive. Vroom, vroom, vroom. Uh-oh. My bus has a flat tire, you guys. What color is the flat tire? You're right. It's black. Pop. The tire is black and it is flat. Ooh, Amanda, great idea here. So Amanda suggested, let's drive the bus to something blue. Ready? Find the blue bridge. Vroom. Right? How much more fun is that than what color is it? Blue. What color is it? Green. So much more fun, right? And it's teaching generative language and teaching in the context of the real world environment. All right. So following your child's lead, you can still teach skills that may seem totally unrelated by following their current passions and interests. Now, somebody already said to me, okay, but my child has a hard time paying attention, particularly for long periods of time, and if they perceive the activity to be boring. Okay, so let's talk about that. How do you gain a child's attention? Step one, get super close and on eye level. You guys, kids play on the floor. They totally play on the floor. If you walked into any one of our developmental play groups, and even some of our social skills groups up to like 10 years old, we're not sitting at a table. We are sitting with our kids on the floor. And that is because we want to be at their eye level. We want them to be able to see us without having to look around in lots of different directions. Sometimes we might do something really, really unexpected. That might gain your child's attention. Okay. Sometimes we might take turns with a preferred toy. That will probably get their attention. So those are two really solid strategies that I would recommend in terms of gaining your child's attention. And I just want to back up a quick minute here. So Sherry had asked, why ask questions as opposed to using declarative language? Absolutely. Declarative language is a great strategy. And depending on your child's level of receptive and expressive language, you might choose a variety of different strategies. So great question, Sherry. All right, so here's our next example. Your child is loving this bus, you guys, super engaged with this bus, but not at all engaged with you. Now, fortunately for you, you have two toy buses in your house. Okay, so you got a toy bus of your own. What do you do next? How do you go ahead and capture your child's attention? And you guys go ahead and take your toy bus and do some thinking on this. What actions would you take? Go ahead and send them to me in the chat. Reflecting upon the Q&A, reflecting upon the concepts here that we've talked about. So I have an idea that I'm going to throw out to the group. I'm going to start by making my bus have a bus crash. That's awfully unexpected, right? So my child might be over there playing with their bus, and my bus is going to all of a sudden go, oh no! Oh my gosh, Johnny, my bus crashed into the tunnel. It doesn't fit. I bet if Johnny loves buses, at the very least, Johnny's going to turn and look at me. That might be it. But now I've got interest and now I've got attention. right? Ooh, so I see some other great strategies here. Pretending something is wrong and saying you wished you had some help. Yeah. Oh no, my bus has a flat tire. I wish somebody could help me fix this flat tire. That's a good one. Now, maybe I need a second bus. Maybe my bus is going to go to the bus parking lot. So maybe I'm going to take a turn with the second bus, and that second bus happens to be my child's bus, right? And I'm going to say, oh, the buses are going to go into the parking lot. And I put them next to each other. If my child is super interested in this bus and I take a turn with his or her bus, they're probably going to be paying attention to me. Great job, you guys. Awesome. So step 1 is to follow your child's lead. Step 2, ensure that you have attention. Now, this could be one of the most important steps that I outlined for you guys in this process. Arrange the environment accordingly. You guys, you have to have some control over your environment. If it is a free-for-all and you have no control over the environment, your child will not be motivated to play with you because they can totally play by themselves and get access to everything they want. So your goal number 1, if your focus is working on communication during play, your goal is to make sure that your child has to go to you to get what he or she wants. So some strategies we can use on this front. Put this bus really, really high out of reach where they can see it, but they can't get it without you. That's one idea. Another idea, put it in a very, we recommend clear bins. So like those Tupperware containers that, anybody under the age of like 35 can't open, right? So put the bus in one of those clear Tupperware containers where your child can see it. So there's this natural motivation to engage with the toy. But gosh, they can't get in there unless they go to mom or dad to ask for help. And then the third recommendation I have for you is give only a little bit of what they want. So if you're playing with Legos, don't give them all the Legos, just give them a couple pieces. That way, if they want more, which they will, because if they love Legos and you followed their lead and that's what they're passionate about in the moment, they want more, they're going to go to you to ask for more. So we're going to practice again, everybody. So you've got your bus. This is what your child was interested in the moment. You've gone ahead, you've captivated their interest. But now you're thinking, oh gosh, I have to set this environment up to be successful. So let's pretend that there's some accessories that go along with this bus. Maybe you've got a car mat at home. Maybe you've got little people figurines. Maybe you've got a stop sign. What could you do with those things to set up your environment for success? So go ahead, send me your ideas in the Q&A and let's talk it out. Let's think about what we could do to promote communication in this situation. So definitely one, we've already talked about the good old strategies, right? You could put all of those accessories into the clear bin, right? Where they can't be easily accessed. You could put them up high on a shelf. You might only give one person, and oh gosh, I'm going to give a random person, not the bus driver, because if I give the bus driver, you're all set. You don't need anything else. But if I accidentally give you the veterinarian, you might need to ask for something else, right? So those are a few different strategies. Oh, I love this idea. We can make a map of the route to school and we can pretend taking the bus to school. Yes, so create your own map. So what you might even do, move that map to a high table that your child can't get to without seeing it, right? Or without asking for help. So they're gonna have to come over to you and say, hey, mom, can you help me see? Because that's how you get communication. So I love that idea. I love the creativity there. And I think we can definitely think about ways that we can use that as a means for our child to have to communicate with us. Awesome. Okay, now, so you've followed their lead, you got their attention, you've set up your environment for success. Now we have to use a time delay and model correct responding. So if you guys remember, we were originally thinking about teaching colors, right? So if we're still thinking about teaching colors, we're going to need to allow a little bit of a time delay. If we're thinking about teaching any skill, we need to allow for a time delay. We have to give our kids time to respond, right? So you've got this, I'm going to run with your idea because I love the idea of making a map of the route to school. So we've got this map. It's a route to school. We've put it up high. The child can't reach it. They can't get to it. They're really motivated though. What do? We wait. We have to allow ample processing time, right? We might even do this. So that face I'm making, right? That's the expectant look. What's going to happen next, right? And I'm just going to freeze like this and wait. I might even go and pause with an exaggerated facial expression. And you saw my body language. It wasn't just my face, it's also my hands, but I paused. That cues my child that, I better do something. That crazy lady over there with the weird looking face, she's waiting for something. I have no idea what she's waiting for, but she wants me to do something. Now, if your child does not respond in that moment, that's okay. You're teaching, right? So then you're going to model. You're going to say, oh, can I see the map? Or, hey, can you pick me up? Or let's do it on the floor. You're going to model what your child should have said in that moment. Modeling for it teaches your child the cause and effect behind when somebody pauses and I don't have what I want, I can use my words, or perhaps not even our words, right? So for some of our really little ones, they might not have words yet. We might be working on pointing or signing or word approximations like up, right? So we're waiting and modeling that response. So let's take this scenario, you guys. I took that stop sign and I put it on a shelf really high out of reach. So I set up this environment to promote communication. And my kiddo is trying really hard to get to that stop sign. All right, it's as if they have springs on their feet. They're bouncing, they're jumping, they're reaching, but it is just too high. So you pause, right? You pause. And your child just keeps trying on his own. There's making no effort to communicate with you whatsoever. So what would you do next, you guys? What do we think would be the next right move in this situation? What do we say? What do we do to promote communication with our child? So I'll give you a hint, okay? The hint is we should model what we want our child to do. And that's going to look different for each kid. So if you have an idea of what that looks like for your kid, go ahead and type that to me in the Q&A. But we might model pointing, right? We might model the word stop sign, please, or the phrase, I should say. We might, I don't know what it is. It's been a long time since I've done sign language, but we might do the sign for stop sign, right? Whatever your child's means of communication is what we're going to do. Mom, could you please help? Yes. So somebody sent that to me in the Q&A. Yes. So you could totally model, Mom, can you help? Absolutely. Great ideas, you guys. All right. So now to review, we've followed our child's lead. We have got their attention. We set up the environment for success. We did that time delay. We modeled what we wanted our child to do. Now what? Well, eventually, with enough modeling and enough practice, your child's going to start to do these things because they're going to learn that if they really want that stop sign, gosh, the only way they're going to get it is if they do some of the things that you're modeling for them, right? And you're going to have a motivated child because you followed your child's lead. You're not they're interested in the bus right now. You're not trying to re-engage them with dinosaurs. You're following their motivation, right? Now, we know that kids don't always get it right the first time and that making mistakes is how we learn. So we're not necessarily worried to take the example that someone just gave me of teaching your child to say, Mom, can you please help? Mom, can you please help? That's 5 words. It's okay with me if they don't get all 5 the first time, right? So I'm going to reinforce attempts and approximations. I am totally not reinforcing problem behaviors. No way. Okay. But I am going to reinforce attempts. So if my child goes, Mom, boom, that stop sign immediately gets given to the child. Or if my child says, help, immediately they get access to that stop sign. Now, if they start crying and they say help, am I giving them that stop sign? No, because then all you're teaching your child is, hey, what works to get what I want is crying and using my words. That's not what we want to teach, right? What we want to teach is that using your words or communicating in any way, shape, or form gets you what you want, okay? For some kids, it might not even be the full word help. It might just be the approximation of it, and we'll take that. And then systematically over time, we're going to require more and more and more. But in the beginning, we're just looking for that understanding that words mean something. So in this example, your child shifts eye gaze to you and starts to say, stop, stop. Remember, they're asking for the stop sign. They don't get the whole word, but it's pretty close. So what do you guys think? Are we giving them the stop sign, or are we saying, oh, sorry, not good enough? Try again. No, we're giving them the stop sign. You guys got it. Absolutely. Yes. Yes, Yang. So we are totally giving them the stop sign right away because we want to reinforce those approximations of behavior. Okay. Now, you guys, sometimes learning new things is really hard, right? Think about the last new thing you learned as an adult. You probably had moments of frustration, right? So it is really important that we don't ask our kids to do hard new things continuously for a long period of time. Those of you who told me before, my kid can't sit still for a long period of time, this is like red flag warning for you guys in particular, okay? Maintaining motivation is critically important. If you are asking your child to do new hard thing after new hard thing, they're going to burn out on you. And eventually they're going to say, forget this operation. This is hard. I would much rather settle for the trains over there because they're kind of fun, even though they're not as fun as the bus. But man, mom will stop asking me questions and making me do things. So I'm going to go there instead because forget this operation, right? So how do you counter that? You intersperse easy tasks amongst the hard ones. So maybe your child hasn't learned the word stop sign yet, or your child hasn't learned the word help yet, but they have totally learned the word bus. Well, guess what? You better intersperse in between. In between teaching them to ask for stop sign or teaching them to ask for help, you're going to have the bus. And they're going to say to you, hey, can I have the bus? And you're going to go, totally, here you go, your turn. Right? Because you're interspersing something that's already easy for them amongst the hard tasks to help them feel successful. A child who experiences success while also being challenged is more likely to grow, and this will decrease frustration. All right, so I kind of gave you the answer to this one already. Sorry, I jumped the gun on that, but your kiddo is working really hard to ask for that stop sign. What are some easy demands you can intermix into play to keep that momentum going? So I gave you one example already, but if you reflect on your own child, what are some easy things you could intermix into our bus scheme that would make them feel successful, that would keep that momentum going? So if you have ideas on that front, go ahead and send them to me in the Q&A feature. So other ideas, maybe they're a child who knows exactly what the bus says. The bus says beep, beep, right? So we might intermix in there. Hey, what does the bus say? Beep, 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 right? And this is going to be different for each child. So you really have to reflect upon what is my kid's personal strength, right? And what can I do to support my individual child in this situation? Okay, so repetition is key, everybody. I promise that this will work, but what I can also promise is it doesn't work the first time, right? So if you're teaching stop sign, you may have to teach it for a little period of time, multiple opportunities to practice. Putting it on the shelf one time and teaching your child to ask for the stop sign one time isn't going to cut it. We might have to practice this over and over and over again. We might vary the play scheme to keep it exciting, right? We might use the stop sign with trains instead of the buses. We might use a stop sign in a game of red light, green light, right? But it's going to take a few different opportunities for us to learn how to teach our child how to use the stop sign. So offering small amounts of those materials, right? So stop sign, perhaps we're using our map of the route to school, right? And there's like 10 stop signs on this map. Don't give all 10 at once, give one at a time, because that will give you 10 opportunities to practice with the word stop sign. And then interrupt play by taking turns, right? So if your child is having an opportunity to play with the stop sign, and then mom has an opportunity to play with the stop sign, guess what? Every time you do that, you give your child another opportunity to ask for the stop sign, right? So creating opportunities to practice is incredibly, incredibly important. So here in this example, it says you hand your child the stop sign. He begins to drive the bus towards the sign and make it crash. But man, this is totally solitary play. You are no longer involved. And you want to create another opportunity for engagement with you instead. So go ahead in the Q&A and type to me some things you could do to redirect the play scheme back to an adult, to yourself, right? So to some degree of interaction and communication with an adult. And while you guys do that, I do have a question or a comment or a question. I'm not sure. So I'm going to read it out loud here. So it says 4.5-year-old with speech therapy. He says, give me a cup with attitude. Oh, I love the attitude, the sass, right? They know how to say the magic words, please and thank you. Is it appropriate to ask them to say please, or do we give them the cup to reinforce communication? So great question. We're going to talk about this a little bit more, but to give you the quick answer, if your child is consistently giving you a given response, so every single time they're able to say, give me the cup with attitude, you know you're ready for the next step, okay? If your child is inconsistently saying, give me the cup with attitude, so sometimes you're getting, give me the cup, but sometimes you're getting crying or whining or other problem behaviors, that step isn't mastered yet. So you should keep teaching, give me the cup, until they are consistently using, give me the cup. And then you're going to start to, we call it shaping, right? But then we're going to start to say, you could say, give me the cup, please. And then when they say, give me the cup, please, we give them the cup. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. The key being you want consistent responding at the current step before you make it harder. So if you're getting any level of problem behavior, you're probably not ready for that next step yet. I will say, though, that something you could think about doing is shaping that attitude, right? So before you even require please, you might be requiring, instead of give me the cup, mom, you might be requiring, give me the cup. Right? So those are two different responses. It might be that adding the word please on is going to be too hard right now. We just need to work on tone of voice. Then once we're consistently getting a calm, neutral tone of voice, then we add on the word please. All right, wonderful. So I hope that helps answer your question. And so back to our bus example. So things we could do here, we could move the stop sign to a different spot, right? We could take a turn with the bus. We might make an even bigger crash using some blocks next door, right? So there's all kinds of different things we can do to re-engage our child. Awesome, you guys. So perfect. We the next framework I want to talk about with you all, and then I think it will be a pretty good time to pause for some questions, is this idea of expanding upon play. Okay. So we've talked about how to promote communication through play. Now I'm going to teach you how to build upon play. And just a quick reminder, if you have questions or answers about anything we're talking, if you have questions about anything we're talking about here, feel free to throw them in that Q&A for me because I'm happy to answer them as they come up, okay? But we will have some time at the end. All right. So the very first step, we're talking about our kids who kind of have a limited set of play schemes. They've got limited interests. They're really super passionate about certain things, but they could stand to expand those interests and expand those passions. Step one, find those play-based reinforcers. What are those play-based things that are already super motivating for your child? So there's some questions we can ask to help us identify the answer, to help us identify these play-based reinforcers for your child. And as I'm going through them, I would really strongly encourage you to go ahead, grab a piece of paper and jot down the answers to these questions for your specific child as I read them out loud. Because then you're going to have the framework already written down to practice when your child gets home from school today. Okay. So question 1, what does your child do in their free time? Are they watching PJ Masks? Are they playing trains? Are they spinning? Are they rocking? Are they flickering their fingers in front of their eyes? Are they scripting certain movies? Are they playing with a favorite stuffed animal? What are those things that your child does in their free time? What are they always running towards? You guys know this, right? You know what this looks like. I call it the bowling ball effect. They enter the playroom and they just like barrel through everything in their line of sight to get to something. What is that something? What is your child always talking about? They could talk about it forever. Here's a good one. If your child was alone in a room, now picture a room with toys, picture a room without toys. What would he or she play? What do they avoid? What, under any circumstance, are they going to do anything in their humanly power to not do? So the answers to the force forward questions are going to give you some ideas of what are those play-based reinforcers. The answer to that last question is the key to things you don't want to use to teach play. Because what we want to teach kids is that play is something you want to be a part of. People are something you want to be a part of. So if you take some of those things that they're trying to avoid and you incorporate them into the initial stages of teaching play, all you're doing is teaching your child that play and people are not something they want to be a part of. And that's goal number 1 to avoid. Okay, so we've identified our child's reinforcers. Go ahead and get 2 of those things. Okay, so duplicate sets of materials are incredibly important here. If this dragon is your child's best friend, get 2 of them. Okay. If these blocks are your child's favorite toy, make sure you have 2 of them. If Barbies are the thing that makes your child tick, they're the known reinforcer, get 2 of them. Okay, so duplicate sets of materials are super important here. Now, remember, we don't want to make people too aversive. We're talking about the child who has restricted interests, would rather play by themselves with an adult. So we do not want to teach them to avoid us any more than they already are. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pretend, and if you have toys nearby, you guys, that are your child's favorite toy, take them out now, because we're going to role play this together. I know I can't see your beautiful faces, but pick them up and play with them along with me, because practice makes us better at this, okay? So my child is over there. They're next to me. You can't see them, right? But let's pretend my child is right there. And they're playing with Barbies. Barbies are the best ever. They have literally no interest in playing with me, but man, those Barbies are fun. I know Barbies are a reinforcer. I've answered those questions for myself already. So I'm going to be in the same space as my child so they can see me, and I'm going to play with my Barbies myself. I am not going to be too forceful. If I'm too forceful and I try to jump into that too quick, guess what? My child's going to turn the other direction and potentially either find something different to play with. Now my goal, oops, typo here, Mark, that's funny because that's my husband's name. So that's, I must have been like having a moment there, but it should say make play more fun because you are a part of it, not Mark play more fun because you are a part of it. We are going to try to make these Barbies way more fun because I'm playing with them than they would be if you're playing by yourself. Okay. So I'm going to show you what that might look like. Oh my goodness, I want to have a dance party. Ready? Oh, I'm going to play my music. Here I go. Spin, spin. Ready? I'm going to do a flip. Woo! Oh, that was so much fun. Okay. So I'm playing with a known reinforcer. I'm making it hopefully more fun because I'm a part of it. And I'm not being too forceful. For all I care, my child can keep playing by themselves over there with their Barbies, right? I'm just playing with them too. Okay, so here's the activity. So I want everybody to take that toy that they've got there. No one can see you, so you're not being judged. But go ahead, pick up your toy. And we're going to do something kind of fun. Okay, so I'm going to do this with my Barbie. But on the count of 3, everybody's going to do something fun with the toy that they have in their hand. Okay, you're going to think of a creative way to play with this toy to teach your child that playing with their play partner is more fun than playing by themselves. Okay, but here's the catch. I'm going to go ahead and say switch. When I say switch, you can't do what you were doing before. You can only use the toy that you have in your hand, but you have to think of something else to do with it. And then I'm going to say switch again. And then you can't use any other idea you've used in the past, but man, you still have to make this Barbie or whatever toy you have in your hand super fun. We're going to do that for a little while. And then I'm going to ask you some of the crazy things you did with your toys to make them more fun because you were a part of it. So ready, set, go. Okay, everybody switch. Switch. Switch again. And switch one more time. All right, so everybody go ahead in the chat and tell me what you could do to make that toy, whatever you were playing with. What are the 3 or 4 things that you did to make it more fun when I told you you had to think of something else? I'm really excited to see what you come up with. I will tell you, I did this at a staff training once, and I made them do, granted in a school, I didn't have toys, right? And I made them do it with like whatever they could find. And one gentleman found the funnest things to do with a trash can that I've ever seen in my life. Okay. You can go into a trash can. You can put a trash can on your head. You can flip a trash can over and stand on top of it, pretending it's a mountain. You can roll a trash can on its side down a hill. Like there were so many fun things this grown adult found to do with a trash can, made it my most favorite toy of all time. So I hope that what you got from this activity is this idea that we can totally make things more fun because we're a part of it. And we can get super creative about the things we're doing, right? Which leads us to our next activity here. We're going to get our kids to learn something new, doing it a different way, okay? So let's pretend you are a parent and you're trying to get me to say hello, okay? And whatever you do, you must get me to say hello. And I don't care how you do it, but you must be sure to accomplish the task. Okay, so actually, I might ask one of you guys, you lovely ladies, to be my my model here. So if anybody doesn't mind unmuting themselves and being my partner in crime.
All right, I'm in.
Awesome. All right. So here's what we're going to have you do. You are going to try to get me to say hello as hard as you can. Okay. And I am going to be the child who does not want to say hello. So ready, set, go.
Oh boy, I'm not good at this.
It's okay.
Hello. I don't know. This is why I don't do this for a living.
It's hard though, right? It's so
Yeah.
hard. It's so hard. Okay, so I'll let you off the hook. So we're going to try something else now. Okay. So now you're going to be the child. Okay. And I know that you love stuffed animals. Okay. They're the most fun thing ever. You totally love stuffed animals. And I'm going to get you to say hello. Okay. Oh, hello there. Oh, hi, friends. It's so good to see you today. Oh my goodness. How are you? Hey, could you give me a high five? It's so fun. Ready, set, go. Oh, hey, you said hi. It's so good to see you. Oh my gosh. So that was way easier, right? And I really put her on the spot there. So thanks for your creativity. But you guys get the idea. Oh, and somebody's commenting to us. I usually sing it. Yeah. So if your child loves music, guess what? Get them to say hi using music, right? The idea is that forcing kids to demonstrate skills by just pushing and drilling and killing isn't going to work. But if you can teach your child that play is more fun when you're a part of it, by pairing with the things that you know are reinforcing, aka this super cute dragon, you're going to get more bang for your buck in terms of learning. Okay. So let's pretend we're back to our Barbies. I'm playing over here with my known reinforcer, or perhaps it's my dragon. I'm making play even more fun because I'm a part of it. I'm over here. My child's still there in the corner playing with the Barbies by themselves, right? Remember, we're not trying to teach that people are something you don't want to be a part of. So we're going to pause and check for signs of interest, okay? If I get a sign of interest, that's a sign I should keep going, but I also need to check for signs of annoyance or boredom. If there is a sign that the child is annoyed or bored, we need to stop and try something different, okay? Because we don't want to teach that people are something to avoid. So you guys, if you have any thoughts in the Q&A there, what are some signs that your child might be interested? And what are some signs that your child may not be interested? Some examples off the top of my head. Just turning and looking at you, that's a sign of interest. Smiling, laughing, giggling, imitating what you're doing, coming closer, orienting their body towards you. Those are all signs of interest. Signs of annoyance or boredom, putting the toy down, walking away, crying, yelling, picking something else to do. Okay, so we need to be checking for those signs of interest to make sure that we're proceeding in the right direction, because that helps us understand what we do next. If you have signs of interest, you should continue. Keep going. If you do not, you need to stop there and change your course. Try something different. And then from there, we're going to use chaining to expand upon play. Okay, so this is an example of what chaining looks like. So we're going back to our bus. Okay, so maybe my child right now, all they do with the bus is they drive it, right? Now I've gone through this process of playing with a bus nearby. I did some super exciting things paired with the things that they already love. I checked for signs of interest. My child is interested. So instead of just driving the bus, I'm going to drive the bus and have it stop at a stop sign. And I'm going to do that for a while, right? And this is really similar to that concept of give me the cup. And then eventually we're going to add to that and we're going to say, give me the cup, please. First, we're going to drive the bus. And then we're going to drive the bus and stop at the stop sign. And once my child can fluently drive that bus and stop at the stop sign, I know they're ready for something harder. So then the next time we play buses, we're going to drive the bus, stop at the stop sign, and we're going to pick up the people. And we're going to play that way until, guess what? Our child can do both of those things, all three of those things, really fluently. And then we're going to add to it. We're going to drive the bus, stop at the stop sign, pick up the people, and beep, beep, the horn. Beep, beep, the horn. Right? So we're chaining on our play scheme. We're adding to it over time, making it more complex. So much so that perhaps the next time, we're not going to do this with buses. We might do this with cars or trains or little animal figures instead of Barbies, right? So we can expand upon that play in a global way. Okay, so one of the last activities I had for you that I won't make you do here now, because I want to make sure that I give everybody the opportunity to ask some questions, talk through things that are hard. And there's one more point I do want to bring to everybody's attention. I was going to have you guys think about different ways that you can chain upon these activities, right? So blocks, dolls, pretend kitchen, but think about the things that your child is currently demonstrating an interest in. What are the play actions that they can currently do with those toys? And how can we expand upon them and build upon them and chain more complex play over time? So you've spent some time reflecting on reinforcers already. The next step you can take in this process is to develop your own little pyramid that looks just like this for the things that your child is currently playing with. Think about how you want to expand that over time and develop a plan for yourself. Okay, so I am going to share these slides with everybody because I do want to take some questions at this point. I do want you to know that I have actually outlined here for you guys the developmental milestones for play. I am so not going to read this to you, but happy to give access to it so that you can try to get a sense of some of the skills you might want to work on with your child. So the way I would go about doing that is by reading through these different slides. They're super simple in terms of different skills that children might demonstrate. Think about the things your child is doing, right? So maybe they are totally taking toys apart. They are totally putting toys together in a simple way. But when it starts to come to this functional play, that's not what I'm seeing. That's where you start, okay? Just to help get some ideas going about what are the things I could be working on with my child. And then this is also a different way of looking at same content, but in terms of how we can build upon those developmental milestones for play-based instruction. All right. And then from there, I think this is a really good place to pause and take some questions if anybody has them in terms of any way I can support, what I can do to help, anything that stood out to you that you're wondering more about. Happy to answer any questions you guys may have. So you can go ahead and pop those in the Q&A feature if you are thinking of anything, got anything on your mind. And also comments, you guys. I'll take comments if anything here was particularly helpful, particularly interesting that you want to hear more of in the future. That's always helpful too.
So Megan, I have a question while people are sort of formulating their own. How can you distinguish, and this was always a puzzle to me when I was raising my own kids, how do you distinguish between play that is allowing a child to work out frustration and just sheer destructiveness? And I'll give you an example. My mom used to be a preschool teacher, and the day after September 11th, the children came in and the teachers were absolutely amazed that they were building towers and knocking them down with toys, literally very forcefully knocking them down. Yeah. If I had seen that in my own house, I probably wouldn't have made the connection. Yeah. What they were working through. I would just think, oh, they're behaving badly. So how do you make that distinction?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it goes back to the idea that play is a way by which we experience our child's world, right? And so I think that we need to keep that in mind and realize that where kids get their ideas for pretend play comes from how they're experiencing their own world. And one of the strategies, and I wonder if I flip through here, if I have a slide on it for you guys, I will look and see if I do, but one of the things that, here it is. So I'm going to use this slide to answer your question. So understanding problem behaviors during play, one of the things that we always recommend, right? Because whether it's a behavior or whether it's a strategy for working through something that they're experiencing in their own world, we still have to shape it into something, right? We have to do something with that. So whether or not you can make that distinction is one question, but then what do we do next, right? Do we lecture our kids that they can't knock down towers with blocks? It's funky, right? What do you do next? So this is actually a similar example, and it's funny because it's blocks, slightly different example. But we do have a bunch of kids right now who get that thrill out of running up to somebody else's tower and kicking it over. Right. So that's another classic example in the block thing. So yeah, it could totally be that they're processing their world, or it could be that they're knocking over their peer's tower because it's kind of funny, right? It's funny to get that kid over there annoyed, right? So what we try to do, a great strategy for this is to find an appropriate replacement behavior. So if they're knocking over blocks, what do we want them to do instead? Well, we want them to play. Want them to play together, and we want them to play nicely. So kicking over blocks, our goal is to turn it into, let's build a block tower together and make the cars crash into it all at once, right? So we actually will say things like, oh my gosh, you look like you're having so much fun knocking over those blocks. Hey, I'm going to build a huge tower and then I want you to crash into it. But wait, I got to build it really tall because it's so fun when it's big and then it falls. And then we build a really big tower and they come running over and they crash it over. All of a sudden, all the other kids are like, oh, that's pretty cool. Hey guys, let's all build them and make them big and knock them over. And now you've taken something that's disruptive and counterproductive and turned it into a cooperative play activity that's chained, right? So the first part of the chain is build with the blocks. The second part of the chain is knock it over. But it's cooperative and it's productive and it's not disruptive. And I think a similar, even if they are building the blocks to process their world, right? It's something similar that we need to think about is, to some degree, perhaps that's how kids process their world, but then what do we do to make that effective and meaningful and productive for them moving forward? Does that answer your question? And
that was a wonderful answer. Thank you. Yes.
You're welcome. And then I see I have some others here too. So when we play games, she always wants to win. What do I do at that point? That's a really good question. Okay. So it's a very complex answer. I'm not sure I'll be able to give you the whole answer in this short period of time, but certainly could talk all day about this. This is something we teach constantly here at the Hangout Spot. So we have a lot of friends who are working on good sportsmanship. And I think I could do a whole webinar on good sportsmanship, but But one of the strategies we do is we teach, there's a really cool curriculum called PEERS, PEERS. There's a whole section on it on the skills that go into being a good sport. And there's two types of good sportsmanship skills. So one is being a good loser and one is being a good winner. But let's think first about what do kids normally say when they lose? They might say something like, oh man, or that stinks, or oh boy, I'll try again next time. Or they might even be sophisticated enough in their language where they compliment, hey, good win, right? Things like that. So I'm going to pick whichever phrase or phrases make the most sense for my child. And I'm going to pick some really quick winning and losing games. So do not try to teach good sportsmanship skills in the context of games that take an hour and a half to play. So you spend an hour and a half trying to win. And then when you win, you lose. It's like you've just wasted the last hour and a half of your life. Okay. So those are not the games to teach this in. Do not use mousetrap because that's not it. Okay. So pick things like coin toss, tic-tac-toe, rolling a dice to get the biggest number. Okay. So things that are kind of like low motivation. I don't really care if I win coin toss, but also quick. That's key, right? And so we're going to say, hey, we're about to play a game. Here's the crazy thing. You're probably going to lose. I'm going to probably lose. There's lots of chances to lose in this game. One of the things we can say when we lose is, oh man, rematch, or hey, good game, or nice one. So we're going to practice. And I'm going to show you what losing looks like first, and you're going to watch. So ready? And then we're going to practice tic-tac-toe. I'm going to purposefully lose, and I'm going to say, oh man, rematch? What did I do? I was a good sport. Oh my gosh. And we're going to celebrate that. Hey, now it's your turn to show me what being a good sport looks like. Ready? We're going to do a quick tic-tac-toe. My child is going to show me, and I'm going to give them feedback. Oops, I think you forgot to keep your cool. Let's see, how could we say that in a different way? Or, hey, really nice job using good sportsmanship language when you didn't win. And we're going to slowly scaffold up from that. So maybe we're going to practice with tic-tac-toe. Then we're going to move to something that takes a little bit longer, but not a huge amount of time. Then we're going to move to something like Connect 4. And then eventually we're going to move to something like Mousetrap. That takes an hour and a half, and there's one opportunity to win or lose. And if you blow it, you blow it, right? So it needs to be a really systematic process. It's totally teachable. It's something we do all of the time here. And if you need more thoughts on that, I'm happy to chat with you. You can feel free to reach out to me, and I can try to give you some additional support there. Okay, so then we have another one here, very strict about rules. I wonder how to get her to help her play with other kids. Okay, so yes, rigidity to rules is, I'm going to tell you that almost all of these skills are skills that we teach using the same framework, right? So I'm going to take that same framework and think about deviation from rules. So I actually did this last night with a kiddo with Hungry Hippos. So we played Hungry Hippos the right way the first time. And then I said, hey, I have this wild idea. I'm going to make up a rule. Now, when people make up rules, it's super important to be flexible. When you're being flexible, something you can say is, okay, sounds good. Now, I'm going to show you what being flexible looks like. You go ahead and make up a rule. So this kid made up a rule that we had to play Hungry Hippos with our eyes closed. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm going to be so flexible. That sounds hard, but I'm willing to try it. Here we go. And I modeled flexibility. And then I said, okay, now it's your turn to practice. I'm going to make up the rule. We can only play with our left hand. And then your child says, okay, sounds good. Oh my gosh, you're so flexible. Way to go, right? And then we repeat that. It takes a while, and it does take repeated practice. And eventually you've got to get kids in there practicing it with you to get that generalization piece. But it's the same framework. And actually in these slides, the section that says behavioral skills training that we didn't cover today, but you can certainly access through the slides, is the framework for doing that. So that strategy can be applied to almost every skill. Another question I get is, I get bored after a while, like playing with Elsa and Anna, taking care of the dolls. So I think I need a little more clarification. So is it that your child gets bored after a while with the same play scheme there? send that to me in the chat if I've got that wrong. But if the idea is that your child is getting bored playing the adult gets bored. Yeah. So that's another issue, right? So you're getting bored because you're playing the same things over and over again. So the question I ask back to you is, why are you playing the same things over and over again? And my guess is it's because your child likes to play the same things over and over again, which indicates to me that there's probably a skill deficit related to expanding upon play, right? So your goal needs to be, because if you're bored, and let's think about that realistically, right? You're mom and you love your kid more than anybody else in this world does. So if you're bored, what is the 5-year-old who's in your child's classroom thinking when they've got the same play scheme happening on repeat, right? So your number one priority is to go implement that chaining procedure we talked about today and expand upon that, right? So I forget exactly which examples you gave me, but taking care of dolls, things of that nature. Maybe we're going to try to expand upon that by taking dolls to the grocery store, or taking our dolls to the veterinarian clinic, or taking our dolls to the swimming pool, right? And creating different kinds of pretend play schemes that could then morph into, oh gosh, now the puppy has to go to the veterinarian instead of the dolls. Or, oh, we need to use the cash register at the grocery store, right? So you see how you can expand upon play that way, but it sounds like that's going to be your number one goal with your child. All right, how can you integrate more advanced academic skills like spelling and counting, strategies for increasing patience and attention through 3 to 4-year-old boys in this context? Okay, so integrating academic skills. So think back to that first example of the bus and the colors. So that can be done with pretty much any toy that you're thinking about, right? So if I think about this school bus, so there's letters on this school bus, right? You can't see them, but they're there, right? But this school bus might also have to go to different places, like the bank, or the, oh my gosh, I can't think of any other places in the world, house, right? Or things like that, or school. And maybe I'm going to draw a map that has an S for school, a B for bank, and H for house. And we're going to say, oh, the bus has to go to the bank. We need to find B. B means bank. Right? So that's a way to incorporate some letters in there. Numbers, the same thing. Stop 1, stop 2, stop 3, stop 4, stop 5. Right? So I think it's important to still do it in the context of play, because play motivates kids. And when kids are happy, relaxed, and engaged, they're better able to access the learning process. But I also think that you have to think critically about what specific academic skill you're trying to teach. And then think of lots and lots of different ways that you can incorporate that into whatever your child's favorite toys are. And I wouldn't do it the same way every time. If you do it the same way every time, your child's going to learn how to identify numbers or letters in one particular session or setting, but not all the other settings. And then you talked a little bit about activity level and getting your child to sit still. So 2 points here. There's this concept of, I had this happen, I'm going to give you a different example, but man, the potty humor with 9 to 10-year-old boys. And I know this is not a 9 to 10-year-old boys crowd, but yesterday I experienced a whole host of things that I didn't even know were funny potty jokes because I didn't even understand them. And at one point my RBG looked at me and she was like, oh God, no, don't say it out loud, right? Here's the thing. Potty jokes are totally appropriate for 9 to 10-year-old boys. So when Joe Schmo went over in the corner and pretended to pee in the corner, yeah, not great for doing that in the middle of your math classroom, but like, how are you going to be socially successful with other 9 to 10-year-old boys? By pretending to pee in the corner of the classroom, right? So to some degree, that's socially successful. And I think that sometimes it's important to think about what's age appropriate. And I will tell you that wrangling our little 3 and 4-year-olds to sit as part of a circle can be challenging. So think about what's age appropriate. Try to incorporate movement activities as much as you can, because that will help. The same concept of knocking over the blocks and teaching something more appropriate. If your kiddo is a runner or a spinner or has a hard time sitting down, games like parachute, floor is lava, twister, those are the games that your child is going to be most successful with that you should start with. And then we'll work to expand from there. All right. Am I still doing good on time, Eve and and team? I can keep answering a few more.
Yeah, we should try to finish it up. I think
Okay.
I see that there are 2 more.
Okay, perfect. So I'll take 2 more and then we'll wrap it up from there. So I have a question here for calming her down when she's frustrated. Other than reading books about emotions, recognizing emotions, what else can I do to help her calm down? So that's a tricky question because it's highly individualized, right? So there are going to be certain coping strategies that work for me that don't work for you. I would actually counter you to think about something a little differently. When a child is in fight or flight, they're not accessing any learning at all. So if you're trying to teach your child coping strategies or other skills when they're already escalated, you're going to be really unsuccessful. So what I would encourage you to think about is what are the patterns surrounding those moments where your child is not calm? Is it consistently that she's being told no? Is it consistently that she's losing a game? Is it that she's having a hard time sharing? Is it that she has to wait for something, right? So if you think about it, and there might be more than one, but there's probably some themes around what is resulting in her having some of these behaviors. I would focus your attention on teaching those skills instead, right? Because at the end of the day, if I'm going to give you an example, if your child is engaging in these behaviors because they lost a game and that's hard for them, you could teach all the coping strategies you want, but until you teach your child to tolerate losing, right? All you're going to do is keep going through this pattern of re-escalating and trying to calm them down, re-escalating and trying to calm them down, and you're not teaching to the skill that they need. So that's a short answer and one that requires a little more thought and digging deep, but again, happy to chat outside of this if that would be helpful. And then the last question is, what if my kid is the one who builds the block tower? How do we teach her to communicate and handle the situations? The block tower that's getting knocked over. Yeah. So we're teaching her where it's like, hey, can you wait? Or, hey, I don't want my tower to knock down, or this one's mine, right? And that requires that same teaching process. It's just around self-advocacy. So, hey, if somebody does something you don't like, you could use words like, oh, please don't do that. I'm going to show you what it looks like when you knock down my tower, and we model it. Next, I'm going to practice knocking down your tower, and you tell me, hey, can you please not do that again? And we're going to practice it in the same way. But we also need to teach our kids to tolerate that sometimes kids don't listen, right? And we have to be a certain degree of flexible and resilient to overcome that. Okay, so I think I've answered all the questions now. I really hope that this was helpful. I know that the one that I X'd out of there was a question about my email address. So there is an email address right here, you guys. Some of you put in the Q&A there that you wanted to email me some more questions. So this is our website, and that is this email address actually forwards to my personal, my Hangout Spot email. So if you email that, you will get to me. And I can talk about this stuff all day. So I'm happy to help in any way I can.
That was fabulous, Megan. Thank you so much. We love having you, and I love having the toys. I think that made things really fun for folks. Before we say goodbye, I just wanted to tell everybody that SpedNet is just starting in a support group with that it's going to start online. I'm so sorry to say, but at some point we hope to be able to do it in person in Wilton at Comstock or someplace like that. And Dave Silvestro, who's the school psychologist at the Southport School, is running it. I think most people know him well. He's doing our next presentation on February 9th, encouraging responsibility and independence. He's done a lot of presentations for us, and he runs support groups at the Southport School and has done it at Eagle Hill, especially dads groups, for many, many years. So if you're interested, please check out our website and you can sign up there. We'll also be sending out more email blasts about it. So thank you. And thank you, Megan. We're so happy to have you again.
Thank you guys
so much, Megan. You brought me back to my early years.
They're fun years, aren't they?
I miss them.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. It was a serious pleasure. And if there's anything I could do to help, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.